Good morning, Michael. We are just getting started here. Zoom did not want to play nice with Facebook streaming again, so we're going to do it this way instead. We are going to answer some questions about Thinkific that I've had submitted, as well as dive a little bit into email integration. So if you have any questions, you can pop them on the right-hand side, and I'll stop every so often and take those questions. So the first question is from John Orion. Trains, guides, and supports baby boomers to successfully create and operate meaningful ventures. His site is at playatcreation.com. And his question, well, he has a few of them. You mentioned modules and chapters. I'm presuming they are the same thing. Can you confirm this presumption? So yes, in Thinkific speak, they call them chapters. In the general course world, they would probably be called modules. In Thinkific, it's just really a name for that section of your course. So the module of your course, it would be the name of that, or the chapter of your course, it would be the name of that. It's the same thing. I tend to use them interchangeably, but yes, you're right about that. I have a year-long program which has 3 parts. I'd love to call them modules 1, 2, and 3 and have chapters within each module with lessons in those chapters. Is this possible? Okay, in a situation like this, John, I would highly recommend that you probably have 3 courses and put those in a bundle in Thinkific so that they have access to basically the 3 parts of the course, or the 3 modules as you're calling them. And inside each of those courses, you have your chapters and your lessons for those courses. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So inside a course, you have these sections, right? These are called chapters in Thinkific. I tend to refer to them as modules. And then within each of these sections, chapters or modules, you have the actual lessons. So there's only sort of a 2-level hierarchy inside a course, and that's chapters and lessons. So you've got your course, and then within your course, you've got your chapters and your lessons. So the way I would do it for your case is I would have 3 courses that they get access to when they enroll in that bundle or that program. Okay, so I hope that helps answer that question. All right, next question comes from David Allen. Working with my email list effectively. Okay, so that's not really a Thinkific question. That's more an email question, and I may do an email series, David, but at this point, I'm just answering questions about Thinkific. So Peter, who's a past client of mine, he has a site called grieftogratitude.net. His first question is, will Thinkific be making it easier to make the design and look of the courses more appealing once people are inside? It's way too basic and limiting now. That would be a Thinkific question. I don't work for Thinkific. I happen to be one of their experts, but I don't work for them. So that would be a question for them. I think that it's really important that you know what you're looking for. So when you say it's too basic and limiting, I would challenge you a little bit on that, in that there's lots of different content types that you can put in. If you're speaking about gamification, that is, a badge goes off when they complete this lesson, or ding, ding, the bell happens, or they, can acquire points as they go along. That's called gamification. And so if you're talking to Thinkific and asking them, and that's specifically what you're looking for, just as far as language goes, that would be called gamification. So if you're really clear about what you're looking for, it will be helpful. Thinkific is really great at prioritizing their customers' requests, but they have to do it based on priorities, right? So how often it is requested and what kind of requests are coming through. His second question is, how can we convince Thinkific to add a gifting option so as someone is buying, they can easily gift the course to another person or all their family members? Convincing them, again, goes back to my previous answer. I'm not sure that you can convince them. I certainly can't convince them. We all sort of have a vote in the process as far as putting requests in. I know that's certainly sort of high on the request list. But you could certainly ask them when they plan to come out with something like that. In the meantime, there are some workarounds that I think that you and I have talked about, Peter, but that's all we have to work with right now. I don't even necessarily always know what's coming down the pipe with Thinkific. Sometimes I do, sometimes they request my feedback because of course we work with a lot of their customers, but ultimately it's up to Thinkific to decide, you know, when they're going to implement new features or new solutions. Okay, next question. This question is from Giovanna, who's actually one of our students in my inner circle. She says, if I live in one country, Canada, and my customers are mostly from another one, Brazil, if I put the prices in Thinkific in their currency, will their credit card account that as a foreign sale or a home-based sale? So I'm not exactly sure what you're asking there as far as how it will show up on a credit card. It will show up in their currency. So there won't be any currency conversion if they purchase in the currency of Brazil, if that's what you're using on your Thinkific site. I hope that helps. I can clarify further in our group if you want, but I think that's what you might be asking. And her second question is, can I show prices in one currency as a measure to make their lives easier, but charge them in another one? How can I set that up on the sales page? So could you do that? Show the prices in their currency on the sales page? Yes. Price the course in your currency? You could do that, although I imagine that that would be really confusing to the end user, because if you're showing them, let's say US dollars on the sales page, and then they get to the checkout cart and it's in Canadian, they're suddenly having to do all of these calculations in their head, which is going to confuse them. And it's going to be a barrier to entry for your course or courses. So I wouldn't do that. If you're going to show their currency as their currency on the sales page, then that's what you should be charging. Otherwise, they're going to get to the checkout and leave because they're trying to do these calculations and they're wondering, you know, why it says this here and this here. So that consistency is really, really important. We want to decrease the barriers to entry as much as possible. So that means not too many custom fields, not them having to do calculations in their head about currency. You want the whole process to be very seamless. So by the time they get to the checkout, there's no hesitation and they put in their credit card and take that leap of faith. Dottie, welcome. Glad you've joined us. So I've just covered some questions from some of my viewers, some of my audience, some of my students about Thinkific. If you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box here and I can answer them as we go along. So that's all the questions that I've got so far. We may have some more next week, but let's dive in because I really want to talk about email marketing and email integration specifically. So let's talk, I just made some notes for myself here. Let me see. Why integrate with an email marketing service provider? Oh, Angel's joined us. Nice to see you, Angel. Okay, so why integrate with an email marketing service provider? So Thinkific is a learning management system. It is a platform to host your courses, to manage your students, but it is not an all-in-one solution. They do offer the opportunity to email your students through Thinkific in the way of one course welcome email. So when someone joins a course, you can send one email automatically when your students join that course. You can send one email through Thinkific when a student completes a course. You can send what they call a site welcome email when someone creates an account on your Thinkific site, whether they enroll in a course or not. But when you send those emails, there is no analytics available. So you can't see who opened it, who clicked in a link, which is called a click-through rate, a link within the email. There are no analytics. You can't tell if someone even got the email. So I don't like to use Thinkific's emails for this purpose. That's one reason. The second reason is, for instance, if someone creates an account on your Thinkific site, but they do not enroll in the course, so they abandon the cart It's called abandoning the cart. When they create an account, so Thinkific has a two-part sign-up process. They have to enter their name, password, agree to your terms and conditions, and agree to or add any custom fields that you have required. That's the first step. Or if you have social sign-in settings enabled, they can sign in through Facebook, LinkedIn, or Google+, which just means that they don't have to put in their name and password because that's automatically pulled from that social site. So that's step one. The next step in the process, if it's a paid course, if there's any price attached to the course, is they basically go to what's called a checkout page. And the checkout page is where they pay by PayPal if you have PayPal enabled, or they put in their credit card and pay by credit card through Stripe. Stripe is just the payment gateway, PayPal's the payment gateway. So those are the two options when they get to the checkout page that they'll have if you've enabled both of those. But what if they create an account on your site and then the dog starts barking because someone's at the door, or they suddenly get cold feet about signing up for the course? If you do not have an abandoned cart sequence set up, email sequence set up, you're going to lose out on this super warm, on the verge of hot audience who's ready to buy your course, but something stopped them. So if we just send Thinkific's site welcome email one time to them when they create an account, whether they sign up or not, we can't move them back into the purchase. So if I'm setting up abandoned cart sequences, when someone creates an account but they don't finish the enrollment, the first email is going to go out to them about an hour after they don't finish the enrollment process. And it's going to say something like, hi, Kim. Thanks so much for creating an account on Brainy Girl U. It looks like you didn't finish the checkout process. If you had any problems with it, just reply to this email and we'll help you out. Otherwise, here's the link to go back and finish that process. So that's email one that goes out about an hour after they haven't signed up for a course. Email two will go out the next day. So here's where chances are they're having cold feet. They are, hi Anna, thanks for joining us. We're just talking about email marketing and email integration as it relates to Thinkific or any course really. So we're talking about abandoned cart now. So someone creates an account on your Thinkific site, but they do not finish the enrollment process. We want to send an abandoned cart sequence. So they first email an hour later, oops, looks like you need some help trying to push them, not push them, but encourage them to go in and finish the process. Email number two would go out the next day. And this is where we are trying to highlight the benefits of this course to get them encouraged enough and relieve their fears. So that second email would go out the second day if they still haven't signed up for the course, and it's going to point out all of the reasons why they probably were looking at signing up for the course. So it's going to really point out the benefits, not the features, not the fact that you get 29 video tutorials and you get cheat sheets and downloads. That doesn't matter to them. What they care about is that they're going to have this transformation or this result by the time they finish the course. So that second email is really about the benefits to them of enrolling in this course. If they still haven't signed up, so here's what you need to understand. The automation that we would set up in an email marketing service provider like ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or any of those, this email sequence is only going to continue to go out to them as long as they haven't signed up for a course. The moment they sign up for a course on our Thinkific site, it's triggered in ActiveCampaign or in ConvertKit or whatever email marketing service provider you're using, and it tells that email marketing service provider, otherwise known as an ESP, it says, if they sign up for a course, take them off the sequence. Don't send them more emails trying to convince them that this is the course for them if they've already signed up. So this abandoned cart sequence is assuming that they still haven't signed up. So they abandon the cart. The next day they get a benefits email. The third day, I'm probably gonna send them either an FAQ or a testimonials email, more likely a testimonials email. So that email is gonna highlight, I know, Kim, that you're still having some hesitations about signing up for this course, but let me tell you what Anna or Michael has done by the time that they have finished this course. And so I want to highlight some of those stories. I might do a video about it and insert the video into the email. A student may have sent me an email testimonial. I'm going to put that in this email. It might be just a Facebook snapshot. So someone has, a student has left a review of your course. You could snapshot that and put it in this email. So this is called social proof. It is a reassurance that other people have taken it and said good things about it. So I can be relieved knowing that I'm not necessarily the first one who's taking this course, and my risk drops. So I'm more likely to now sign up for this course because I have social proof that other people have done it and have had success. So that would sort of go out the third day. So first day, an hour after they abandon the cart, they get the oops. The second day, they get the benefits email. The third, so the day after that, they get the testimonials email. The day after that, they're going to get another one. And this is going to be, I understand that you are having some hesitations about enrolling in this course, but let me answer some of the most common questions that we get. And then I would list out my FAQs about that specific course. And at the bottom of each of these emails is a link to go back and finish their enrollment, as well as a PPS. Hey, if I can help you any further, please reply to this email. So at this point, like, they have started the process. They're really close to converting. But if you just leave them to be on their own now, they're not going to think twice about it. They're not sitting there going, I wonder if I should join. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. They're not doing that. They've moved on. So you have to get them engaged again in the process so that they can finish this process, enroll in the course, and get the transformation or the results that they're looking for, that you're promising them that they're going to get from this course or bundle. So that's the, fourth email. So now we're on day 4 after they've abandoned the cart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So on the 5th day, they still haven't. There's much decreased chance that they're going to at this point. So I'm probably going to give them some kind of discount incentive or bonus incentive to get in the course at this point, because I would rather them get in the course at 25% off for a limited time than abandon the cart altogether. Because if they abandon the cart, they're not going to enroll in the course. So that's initial revenue. They're not going to get the results that they're looking for. If they don't get the results they're looking for, they're never going to buy another course of mine. They're not going to tell anyone else about my courses. So all of this is really, really imperative when they're that close to making the decision. It is your job to guide them through this process. And if they still haven't, on the 5th day of you sending these emails, if they have still abandoned the cart, then they're not going to buy right now. And what that always tells me is that they don't know you, like you, trust you enough to try something that you have and to buy something that you have. And that's on you. You either are not resonating with them, you're not using their language, you're not reaching them, or you're not their person. And that's okay too. When I get unsubscribes on my email list, I know a lot of people, get all worried about, oh, they unsubscribed. That's good. They're not my people. I would rather have a highly engaged group of a smaller email list than a whole bunch of people on an email list that really don't give a crap about what I have to say or how I can help them. So it's the same thing. By day 5, if they have not enrolled, I'm going to assume that I haven't done my job in building that trust factor yet. If they haven't subscribed, they're still interested in what I have to say. They still want help. I just haven't nurtured that relationship enough that they're willing to take that jump. Okay. After that, I don't just leave them in the cold. Now I'm going to move them onto a sequence that is going to help nurture that relationship. So I know what they're interested in because they've almost completed this process of signing up for this course. I know what they're interested in. So now a couple of days later, I might send another email, and this is all done automatically. I might send another email pointing them to a blog post of mine or a YouTube video of mine. I'm not asking them to buy anything. I want to nurture this relationship and build my trust with them so that the next time I launch or they start thinking about what they need, I'm going to be top of mind. My courses are going to be top of mind, right? Because I'm giving them something. So Gary Vee talks about jab, 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 hook. Other people have different analogies for this. And it basically means give, 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 and then ask, right? So maybe a couple days after this abandoned cart sequence, I send an email that says, hey, Kim, no problem, you didn't sign up for the course. I totally get it. But listen, I know you're looking for help on this topic. I wrote a whole blog post about it, or I did a whole YouTube video about it. You can find it here. Move them over, give them value. So the next little bit, you were just delivering value. You're not asking for anything, not saying buy my course. You're just saying, hey, let me help you further. And what you're really doing is nurturing that relationship and building that trust. So the next time they're ready to buy, they're going to think of you. The next time you launch, they're going to be more ready to buy because you've delivered incredible value to them. Does that make sense, guys? Type your comments in, let me know. So that's sort of the overarching reason why you want to integrate. Yes, Michael says, Anna says, absolutely great. This is something that no one is talking about, right? But it's really, really important key stuff to increase your revenue, increase your student base, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to go out into the field and tell other people about your course. And that's great social proof. If a friend of mine phones me or emails me and says, hey, Kim, I just took this course, you got to check it out. How likely do you think am I to go check that course out? Very likely, because they've taken it. They've got results from it. So I'm much more likely to take it. Excuse me. So why integrate with an ESP? We talked about the analytics part of it. If you send everything through your Thinkific site, first of all, you can't do automation sequences. You can only send one email. You get no analytics on it. If you send that, even just one email through ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or any ESP, you're going to get all the analytics. How many people opened it? How many people clicked through it? How many was it delivered to? How many bounced? And all of that is important as you're tweaking and testing this email marketing process. Okay, so let's talk about which email marketing service provider. Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about the two main kinds of email marketing service providers. One is list-based and one is tag-based or event-based. We'll just call them tag-based for now. List-based would be Constant Contact, Aweber, MailChimp. Those are sort of the main list-based. What list-based means is that when someone comes into that account, let's say I have a MailChimp account, someone comes into my MailChimp account through a sales page, a landing page, a form, subscribes to my newsletter, which I hate, we'll talk about that later. They're going to go onto one list in your ESP. Then you have to move them from list to list. So if you're using MailChimp in conjunction with Thinkific, okay, we'll talk about that in a sec. That's list-based. Let's talk about tag-based now. Tag-based are ones like ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft. Those are sort of the primary tag-based. Okay, if I have someone, I have multiple lead magnets, let's say, which are ways to get people onto my list, and I'm using MailChimp, I might have that same person on 3 lists in MailChimp. I don't want that. I'm getting charged for 3 subscribers, not 1. And B, they may be getting overlapping communication because they're on 3 separate lists of mine. Moving them from list to list, like any kind of sort of automation in any of those list-based ESPs, is so challenging. You generally have to use an external software like Zapier to make that happen. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of manual, and they will never work the way that you really need them to build an automated business. So if you're serious about building an automated business, you really want to look at tag-based email marketing services. ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft. And I name those ones in particular because they all integrate seamlessly with Thinkific. So let's go over, and I'm just going to show you a few things about list-based versus tag-based as it relates to Thinkific, okay? So let's pull up my integrations. Okay, so we're just on a sandbox site that I have here. And I'm under market and sell, integrations, email marketing. So, and this is my Thinkific dashboard. So if I go under here, I can see that it looks like there is an integration with MailChimp and Thinkific, and there is an integration. The problem with this integration is that if I link my MailChimp account to my Thinkific account here, every single person who takes any action on my Thinkific site is going to go on exactly the same list in MailChimp. You can only choose one list in this integration. I don't want that to happen, because if I want to send them abandoned cart sequence, I can't do that. Now they're all on the same list. If they enroll in course A, they're going to be on the same list as those who enroll in course B. So it's not the kind of integration that you want to do as a native integration, which means that for MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber, all list-based, if you connect these accounts in Thinkific, every single person who takes any action on your Thinkific site is going on to the same list in your ESP. Therefore, what we have to do if a client, for instance, is using Aweber, Constant Contact, or MailChimp, now we have to employ Zapier. Zapier is an external software. You are going to pay for it. And basically with Zapier, the reason why we bring it in is, let's just, let me show you here. So we use Zapier so that we can actually tell Zapier, MailChimp and Thinkific to do different things based on actions. So we don't connect it. If someone's using MailChimp, a client's using MailChimp, and they're hell-bent on staying with MailChimp, then we don't connect it in Thinkific, because we don't want everyone going on the same list. What we have to do is go into Zapier and say, when someone, when there's a new full enrollment in a particular course on Thinkific, then we want to add them to a specific list in MailChimp. So we have to set this up for every action that they take in Thinkific in order to get them on the right list in MailChimp. Then, if we want to take them off a specific list on MailChimp, so let's say that they originally get on the abandoned cart list in MailChimp, we have to set up another Zap to say, if they buy this course, take them off that list in MailChimp and put them on this list instead. It sounds a bit confusing, but does it make sense, guys? Put your questions in here if you have questions about this. List-based is not the way to go if you want an automated process. Okay, so let's go back here for a second. So we've sort of covered list-based and the fact that you need to use Zapier. So a lot of people go with MailChimp because it's free up to 2,000 users. What you don't know, though, is that you get charged for multiple subscribers. So same subscriber on multiple lists, those all count as one subscriber. So although you may get 2,000 subscribers free, if you have multiple people in there on different lists, that's going to add up really quickly. And if you're using MailChimp with Thinkific, you're also going to have to pay for Zapier. So by the time you pay for Zapier, you might as well use ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign that is going to do what you want it to do without having to use Zapier. Okay, so let's talk about the other integrations that are in Thinkific that, in my opinion, are far superior options because they natively integrate and you don't need an external tool like Zapier. ConvertKit is one of them. ConvertKit is a great ESP. Their customer service, in my opinion, is sorely lacking at this point, but it's a good manageable system and it integrates seamlessly with Thinkific. So let me just see if, okay, so here's this is one of my active Thinkific sites. And while we're talking about ConvertKit, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna put in your API key and it tells you how to find it. You're gonna put in your API key, which connects Thinkific and ConvertKit. And then once you do that, we can now go into this integration piece. This is again in Thinkific, so we've connected our ConvertKit account. And I can say that when anyone creates an account on my Thinkific site, they're gonna get tagged with this tag in my ConvertKit account. That tag is then gonna set off an abandoned cart sequence. If they then go on to sign up for one of my courses, they're going to be pulled off the abandoned cart sequence because they're going to be tagged with this tag. So this tag here you're seeing, participant list to launch, this is a ConvertKit tag, but we're in Thinkific here. And so I've said, if they have joined list to launch, tag them as this in ConvertKit. So what happens then is when someone signs up for my list to launch course, Thinkific automatically sends that person into ConvertKit, my ConvertKit account, and tags them with that tag. In ConvertKit, I then tell ConvertKit, if a person gets pulled into ConvertKit and they have this tag attached to their name, send them the course welcome sequence. Okay, let's stop for a second. We talked about abandoned cart sequence. Let's talk about welcome and completion emails and why it's important to send sequences, not just one email. So again, in Thinkific, you can send a course completion email, one, automatically when someone completes a course. You can send a course welcome email, one, when someone enrolls in a course. I need to drink water, hang on a second. Okay. Ideally though, your job as an online educator is to help your students move through a course so that they'll get the maximum benefit, they'll complete the course so they get the results, and then they go talk to people about the results that they got, right? Really, really important. And I'm actually going to highlight, so Michael, who's in here today, Michael is a client of mine. Michael, I'm just going to highlight a specific example here that really, really is powerful. So Michael teaches companies and people how to deal with active shooters. So gunmen who go into workplaces, gunmen who go into movie theaters. He teaches people how to stay alive in situations like that. And several years ago, a gal was in one of his in-person courses. And then several years later, I think it was several years later, I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but you'll get the gist of this. She survived the Las Vegas massacre, the Las Vegas shooting. And when she was interviewed about how and why she survived it, she spoke about Michael's course and the fact that he taught her, that course taught her, that workshop taught her how to survive. That is insane social proof. So even if you think that they're not out there talking about you, they are talking about you. They're either talking about you in a good way because the course was great and they got the results or transformation that they wanted, or they're going to say nasty things about you and they're going to tell people not to take the course. Part of that comes down to their own motivation, right? How much are you going to get out of this? How much are you, like your students, how much are they going to retain from this? But a bigger part of this is how we structure a course and how we support them while they are taking the course. So I'm going to give you a for instance. So we have our list to launch course. It is a 90-day program that helps people get from no list, no online audience, totally unready to launch a course. They think they are, but they're not because they have no audience. It takes them from that to 90 days later running a pilot program with a hungry audience of people who want what they have. That is the goal of the course. The course is structured in a way that is very step-by-step, so they understand all of the pieces of it and they learn to implement it as they go. So they have incredible knowledge that they didn't have at the end of the 90 days. So part of that is the course structure. But the other part of that is email support. So when someone enrolls in a course that's going to take a period of time to complete, you want to support them by email. So when someone joins our list to launch course, their first email that's automatically set off through ConvertKit. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the course. Here's your next steps. Here's the first 3 things you need to do. And I'll see you in a couple of days. 3 days later, an email is automatically sent to those students. Hey, I see that you have, you joined the course a few days ago. Have you had the opportunity to get started yet? We want to encourage them to get in there because lots of people buy courses and then they sit in a bookmark forever and they do nothing with them. Jamie, thanks for joining us. We're talking about email marketing, service providers, integration, etc. So I will post this on my Facebook page later today when it uploads or potentially tomorrow, and you guys can go back and watch if you missed pieces of it. So first email, welcome to the course. Couple of days later, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with, right? 7 days later, I in this particular sequence, every week for the 90 days, they get another email saying, hey, how are you? How is the course going? Here is where you should be at in the course. If you need any help, reach out. So you need to use your email marketing or your ESP to stay keeping them motivated to move forward so that they get the results they need or they want. Because if you drop the ball on that, that's on you. If you let them sign up for the course and you're like, oh, I just made $200, and you forget that they are real people, real students who are really taking your course, this is going to be a long, hard journey for you. You have to, it is your job to help them get through. Now, obviously to a set point, right? They have to have the motivation, they have to have the interest, they have to make the time, but you have to do everything that you can to ensure that they are successful. And that is the key to successful long-term course sales. Okay, so welcome sequence, it would be a sequence of emails. Even if your course is only a 1 hour webinar, you still want to check in with them if they haven't completed the course about why they haven't completed. Maybe they need some help. Maybe they have a question. Maybe they just didn't know they needed to click the complete and continue in order to in order to complete the course. Some courses offer certificates. Well, unless they complete the course, they're not going to get offered the certificate. So those are all things that you want to be able to include, talk to them about, encourage them through. So think about if you were doing this in person, how you would do this. Lots of people say, well, what do I write? Well, you write in those emails the same things that you would say to someone who you were encouraging to continue through anything, right? It's the same concept. So with ConvertKit ActiveCampaign Infusionsoft, this is a really easy thing to do. It is not challenging to set up. And once it's set up, it runs on autopilot. So when someone's in one of my courses, and if they complete the course, they're tagged in ConvertKit with a completed this course. Again, this isn't the end of the sales process. This is sort of the beginning again. So abandoned cart sequence helps capture those ones who abandon the cart. Welcome sequence helps them move through the course and get the results that they're looking for. And then when they complete a course, they've already taken a course of yours. They've made it through the whole thing. So that first email that goes out to them should say, congratulations, woohoo, you finished the course. Please do us a favor and leave a review. You want to ask for a rating and review fairly early while it's still fresh in their mind. You want them to leave that review because then you use that review in your marketing, on your sales pages, in future email sequences that you might be creating. You want that review. Encourage them to do that. This is where you would say, here's where you download your certificate, right? Like they knew they were going to get a certificate. Now this is your time to say, here's the link. You need to you need to download your certificate here. Once they have that certificate, especially if they're doing it through Accredible, which is the Thinkific integration that automatically sends out certificates when people finish a course, if you want, it's an option, obviously. They can share that on social. They can share that on social media, right? So they share that they have finished the Alive Active Shooter course on LinkedIn, and what do you think is going to happen? That's social proof. Other people are then going to go and check out this course. And you literally haven't done any marketing. All you've done is given them something that they can then share, that they can then feel proud of, that they can then use to elevate their career or whatever the reason for giving them that. So that's sort of your first email. Congratulations. Please leave a review. And here's your certificate, right? This is just congratulations. Then a day or two later, give them a couple of days of breathing room because they've just worked through your course. Now you need to think about what is their next step. So they've finished course A. Generally, you're going to have something else that you can offer them. You may have coaching or consulting services. You may have in-person workshops. You may have an event happening. You may have a book that you've written. You may have another course. You may want them to sign up as an affiliate. There is always a next step. And so this is the email that you ask them to take that next step. So you need to know what the next step is for this specific person in this specific course. So if I've taken a course about something, I always know what the next step of that person should be or could be. And that's what I'm going to offer them. So that completion sequence is sort of 2 or 3 emails. The first one that goes out right when they complete the course, the next one a few days later, asking them to take the next step. And you may send a third one, you know, reminding them that if they share their certificate online using this specific hashtag, that they might be highlighted on your website, or they might be highlighted on your Instagram account, right? You want to get a little bit creative to get them to share their stories with you. You might ask them in that email if they would be willing to hop on a call with you that you could record to find out about their experience. Don't put it as, you know, can I get a testimonial? You've already asked them for a rating and review, but you could say, I would love to interview you on camera and hear your story about your experience in the course and what you're hoping to do with it, or how it's going to do this. That video interview that you're going to get from them, if they agree to it, can go on YouTube, can go on sales pages, can go in emails. Like, that is marketing collateral, social proof marketing collateral for you. So don't miss out on these opportunities. It's not just a one and done. And I'm really going to encourage, you know, online educators to think about the holistic view of course sales. It's not just the sale of a course. These are real people on the other end, and it's your job to help them throughout that whole process. And if you do that well, you will have an entire sales force of people out there who are talking about your course and sending traffic your way without you doing anything. It's all automated, but you have to set this up properly initially in order to make that happen. So how to connect. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you was forms. Is there any questions at this point? I'm just going to take a moment and let you guys ask any questions that you might have, because that was a lot of information. But it would be really helpful to rewatch this and make some notes about how you could potentially improve your process. Either move to a different ESP or build on automations and sequences that you currently have set up. This is really important stuff, guys, that is going to set you up for long-term course sales. No questions? No questions? Okay, so one thing more that I wanted to show you, and that is how to use forms on sales pages and within courses. I get this question a lot, so I thought this would be a good time to show this to you guys. That's all my integration, Zapier. Okay. So I often get the question. So we have a client right now that we're doing a course for, and after the course is done, she wants to be able to get them on a waiting list for another course that hasn't yet been created. She wants to gauge interest. So this is in one of my courses, but it's the same concept. So what you really want to do is you want to set up a form in your ESP, right? You set this up in your ESP, and then you can drop it right into a course. So this might say, you know, this might be the last lesson in a course that might say, hey, congratulations, you finished the course. This could even be your completion page in your course. We are preparing to launch part 2 or course B. If you're interested, add your name and email below. So we've taken this form that we made in ConvertKit and simply dropped it into a lesson within our course. So if someone puts in their information here, oh, that wasn't a very good example. This is actually not, I'm going to have to go back and check this. That was a terrible example. But basically what's going to happen is you're going to put in your first name, your last name, and then it's either going to send them to another page, or it's going to show a success message. So great, you are on our list to be the first to find out when course B launches or when part 2 launches, right? But this is all set up in ConvertKit. And then you simply go into your course, use a text lesson. When you set this up, you'll get some code. ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or whatever you're using will give you some HTML code. And to get that into a text lesson, you just go into Code View, and you can see right here, there is my ConvertKit script right there. So this is the HTML or the script that I put in here. And when I go back from Code View, the form shows up in here. So right within your course, you can get them on a waiting list for something else. So that's how you can drop forms into your actual courses. The other thing you can do is add them right to your sales page. So let me just see if I've got, I think I've got a form on here. Yeah, so be the first to know when the course is open for enrollment. This is on an actual sales page. And I've just, again, created this in ConvertKit, used a text and media section in Site Builder, used the code view. This is all the code that goes in there, right? It's huge. But when you go back from code view, now we have this integrated. So what this means is that, oh, that's spelled incorrectly. This is just a test. This is a test page. So what this means is that right from here, they get pulled into my ConvertKit account, tagged as waiting for this course. And then I can even set off a sequence, getting them excited about the course while I'm in the process of building it. And then I have a pre-launch list as well of people who are interested. So there are all sort of ways to think outside the box. Let me stop sharing. Think outside the box a little bit about how you can best serve your students and how you can move them on to the next steps as well. Michael says, good shit, Kim, you're amazing. Thank you. I'll have Hope and Emily watch the video. Yes, awesome, great. From Jamie, in ConvertKit, can you add more than one name and email address on a form? No, and I would wonder why you would want to do that, Jamie. Maybe you could give me more information there about why you would want to do that. You basically want, you can add some custom fields in there if that's what you're asking. But you should only be capturing the subscriber name and subscriber email, and then you can have additional custom fields in there as well on a form. Maybe that answers your question, I'm not sure. So was that helpful, guys? If you can give me some feedback back here about whether that was too in-depth, whether that was in-depth enough. I will also drop my more info, yes, like custom info. Yes, you can have custom fields in ConvertKit forms or landing pages, Jamie. Absolutely, you can. And that will just pull it into ConvertKit, and then you can actually even send emails based on those custom fields. So yeah, any feedback that you guys have, love to always hear feedback. When I post this on Facebook, I will drop the link in to ask any questions for upcoming Thinkific Thursdays. If you know other people who this could be helpful for, I will ask you to share this video when I post it on Facebook. Again, I have several sides of my business. I have a service-based side of my business where we help customers get their courses online. We also have lots of courses and an inner circle where we actually work with the students to help them do the same thing. Anna says, very, very helpful. Thank you. Good. Thanks, Anna. I appreciate it. So that's it. We'll wind up for today, guys. My son is graduating from high school tonight, so I am off to spend some time with the family and prepare for that event. I want to thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today, and hopefully we will see you back on the next Thinkific Thursday. Have a great day.